the last time we lost against them was a bit of a fluke on our end. I remember playing HBK last season, and I don't really remember them being that scary. I remember it being an easy match, to be honest.
The difference between Mythic and Luna, it seems like micro-wise, it was tougher there. But then macro-wise, it feels like everyone's really playing as a team here a lot more. And it's more of team coercion more than just gapping your opponents.
Big knockup on the side of Dax, who's going to have two people locked into the chamber. Alos is going to get knocked out from the very end, and that's going to be the double killer.
That Infernal Soul is going to be doing some extra work here as they just absolutely decimate Blue Bayou Zoo, completely wrecking through them. We see the Renekton on the bot lane.
Strongest performance and player that BBZ's really shown is really Jaffe, as he just gets all the resources. And it feels like Jetta can just beat him anyway. Weak side, strong side. We just have the better top.
To be honest, the whole team of HBK is pretty strong. I think they're really similar and kind of equal, so I don't know if one player is better than another, but I do see Spears doing a lot of work on their team. I think he's the one to look out for, I guess.
Expectation for the match on Wednesday is that we're just going to come out swinging, try and get the first win, and then just bringing the momentum to just get 3-0 off the bat.
If Jetta decides to go top lane against me, I think he should, really prepare his summoner spells, his runes, double check that, because if he takes the wrong stuff, I'm not going easy. I'm gonna just roll over him.
BBZ got us tied for the 1-1, but we're just gonna show them that we're the better team at the end of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Friend or Foe Esports Luna Semifinals Day 2. And following a hot 3-0 brought to you by our very own Universal, we have two teams who I believe are out for blood tonight. On the blue side, we have Team HBK, and on the red side, we have Blue Bayou Zoo. And whoever comes out on top at the end of this best of 5 series will be moving on to Grand Finals to face UB, and I know 100% that BBZ are looking to make it there for a Grand Finals rematch with UB. Here to walk you through these games, my name is Whirler, and casting alongside me tonight, we have RLS's very own war leader.
Happy to be here. Let's hop right into this draft that's already been going on. Just looking at the band so far, seeing Lucian taken away from BBZ. I know that's one of Red's favorite picks. Meanwhile, the Yuumi and the Misfortune are absolutely staple meta picks right now. Meanwhile, BBZ tackling some pretty comfort things for Spears in the mid lane, taking away the Galio, taking away the LeBlanc. We've seen a lot of play on that. Also, the Heimerdinger is a classic from Jita in the top lane, so taking that away, no cheese here. So let's get into the actual picks. So HBlock have drafted themselves a pretty wombo AoE-oriented engaged composition so far with the Jarvan, the Rakan going in, setting up for a big Nico stun. That's a Spears' favorite champion in the mid lane. Very well played Nico, so really excited to see that. BBZ with a pretty interesting draft themselves, though. Varus is not an ADC that you see very much these days. But paired with Nautilus, it's a classic from a few months ago, so maybe it's something that's a little more comfortable. I know that BBZ have experimenting with role swapping their mid and their ADC around, so champ issues or champ pool differences there could be the cause of that. Lux, though, picked up definitely in the mid lane, is also really interesting, grabbing some long-range burst to deal with some of that engage, some of that just jump on you kind of power. Then going into phase 2 of bans, we've got BBZ targeting some ADCs that have a lot of other engage potential, so the Tristana and the Kai'Sa are natural complements to the team that HBlock's already drafted. Good to take those away. Looks like HBlock is targeting things that just got a little stronger recently. Maybe they haven't practiced that much against, so taking away the Teemo, and then looks like they didn't have a 5th ban, so
That's all right. The Lux pick I'm actually looking at a lot in this draft. One of my favorite champions in all of League of Legends. I mean, if you've played League of Legends, this is one of those champions that you know and you know very well, and you don't see it all too often in organized competitive play. And so this is one of those champions that I'm excited to see on stage, excited to see perform. You don't get to see too many here, and honestly, I want to see Lux do some work this game. And with the amount of CC they have, that is a lot of setup for the Lux to start dealing damage, one-shotting the squishies of this game. But alternatively speaking, there doesn't seem to be a lot of squishies on the side of HBK.
No, not at all. The squishiest thing that they have there is the Nico, who has plenty of self-peel and ways to dodge that tricky laser. So not sure how this Lux is going to pan out. I have to think that it was picked for a lane matchup, but real quick, let's talk about the picks that we've had since the second round of bans. BBZ picking up that Viego that can still go top lane or in the jungle, but is much more suited in the jungle these days. And HBlock are going to round out their engaged composition with Renekton, classic engaged, beefy top laner, very strong in the early game, going to have a lot of lane priority. And then the Caitlyn is a nice long-range pick, should also get a lot of priority in lane, should match pretty well into the Varus, and the Nautilus not getting picked out too much. And BBZ are going to send that Viego into the top lane, last picking that Lee Sin to go and match Jarvan in the jungle.
That is an interesting kind of a swap we're seeing here. It still actually could be flexed either way getting into game. I'm not too sure which is going to be where. We still have, I mean, with the addition of Lee Sin lane in the regular season of, you know, modern pro games, it is possible that it is lane Lee Sin, and it actually is going to be lane Lee Sin. We have not seen this in a while. It has been nerfed multiple times in patches across league in recent times. The E getting nerfed with damage over and over. I think it took 2 nerfs in a few patches. And I believe a W nerf did seal the deal for Lee Sin lane, but we'll see how it performs here against the Renekton here in the top lane, as we have a 3-man sort of walking it up in the bot lane.
Yeah, and the Rakan's already over the wall. We could see that Tef's Nautilus get caught out very early. Just to make note, BBZ have done a role swap from regular season, but hold that thought, because here comes the troops.
Prolupal is behind, ready to get the knockup, force the flash out of Tef. Tef is going to be walking out of that, and they did, as you mentioned, in Champ Select, swap their players around. Orphic, their usual support, will be piloting the mid lane. Red taking his throne back in the AD carry, and Tef, the usual AD carry, picking up the support role. We're swapping around here, but Jaffe and Dax staying the same.
Yep, solid top side of the map and very dominant throughout the season. Jaffe is a top laner that really likes to operate with a lot of BBZ's resources, and Dax is a very good jungler at getting those resources to Jaffe often and early in the game.
And with that being said, bot side starts on both of the junglers, going to be routing upwards despite all the pressure that could be in this bot lane. I think post 6 is where the bot lane will start to get a little bit nasty as Idris is taking it up in the top lane, or taking up to the top side. Jaffe and Jida doing a little bit of trading. And this lane Lee Sin is looking pretty spicy so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Lee Sin was picked for the dominating power and lane, the way to shove in the waves using that the crippling blow, I believe it's called. And Renekton is normally a lane bully, but recent nerfs have taken him a bit out of favor. Bot lane from HBK able to posture forward as a result of hitting level 2 first. Red's going to bait out that grand entrance and should back off pretty safely. But yeah, looking at these lanes so far, we're seeing that Lee Sin is actually the one getting priority over Renekton early into this one. So good counter pick by BBZ there, or at least so it looks in the early game. Viego in the jungle opting for a full clear. Jarvan doing something a little faster, maybe looking for a gank opportunity early in this top lane before that 3-minute 15-second mark where the Scuttle Crab starts to spawn. Mid lane's looking pretty even, bot lane's looking pretty even.
And Jarvan did clear just ever so fast, or ever so quicker than BBZ Dax, doing an extra camp, so is going to be behind Jarvan. Jarvan getting some topside pressure. Jaffe sitting in the bush, not letting Jarvan do anything top lane just yet. Orphic also getting pressured out. That's 2 lanes getting some pressure. The knock-up going on Orphic. Flash from Pro Lupul is going to force the flash out of Orphic. Orphic taking a 1 HP, but there's Jaffe, top laner, coming in hot. Dax forced to flash out. Ignite almost taking him out, but the Jarvan Q is enough, and a swag flag is going to secure the double kill. Orphic going down as well. Jida TPing for some insurance to the flag is not going to go any further. Double kill to start it off for HBK.
Yeah, really interesting. We'll see if Tef can find a pick onto the Caitlyn. There goes the high caliber net, and the dredge line is going to land.
Hook, line, and sinker. There goes Caitlyn's flash and HP. Does not go down at all. Is still alive and kicking. Gonna force the recall. CS lead for Red here in this dominating bot lane, punishing the roam from Pro Lupul.
Yep, and wow, it's just going to be skirmish and skirmish here.
And Dax was able to scoop up that crab away from them, so it's not all for naught. Dax is getting out alive here. Ooh, the flag and drag was missed by Idris. Oh, wow, Orphic actually lucked out on that one, because that could have been really bad if he got caught out again. Already 16, 15 now, CS down.
Yeah, this is a really spicy early game, but I want to highlight that really early mid play. We see that Idris and Pro Lupul roam over to the mid lane trying to catch Corphic unaware. Lux as a champion doesn't have very many ways to get out of sticky situations, and I think the really interesting part of that is that Idris loops around to go through the back of mid lane right as Viego finishes clearing that red buff, so actually got some early vision onto Jarvan that initially completely stifled the play. And had Orphic just backed off at that point with the vision gained, knowing that there was going to be pressure on them, should have just backed out and everything would have been fine. Successful play sniffed out. 2 members of the enemy team wasted their time, but steps just a little too far forward, and Idris is able to pull the trigger, and what ultimately turns into a 3-on-3 brawl that goes in HBK's favor.
Yes, indeed. Already picking up the Iron Spike Whip and a sword for his troubles. Idris is in such a good spot in the jungle right now. Dax was able to get a little more farm than him due to not really due to much anything, aside from the fact that he did pick up that crab, giving him an extra 4 in his pocket, plus doing the extra camp before getting into lanes post first clear for these 2 junglers. The jungling has been very intense between these 2 teams, and Dax and Idris are of skill levels that are pretty darn near similar.
Yeah, definitely some of the better jungles in the league. We're seeing a little bit of heavy trading in the top side going Jaffe's favor, but yeah, Idris is making his way down to the bottom side, trying to get a lane gank off, but no dice on that, so instead going to use that lane priority that they gained to grab some vision, maybe walk everybody back up into that mid lane, try and catch Orphic, stepping a little too far forward. They're set up an excellent flank position, but I believe that Spears is the one actually caught on vision, so Orphic is going to back up and sniff that one out, find the enemy vision, and clear it before anything goes too awry.
And that is very good for Orphic, staying as safe as possible while the flash is down for another minute and a half. Orphic is, oh, that's actually a really good binding. You don't get to see that it landed, but honestly, very well placed by Orphic. Caught out Spears a little bit. Doesn't turn into anything, unfortunately. We know on the top lane, Jida getting the push back onto Jaffe. Jaffe, after this wave, will supposedly get a ton of CS ahead of Jida, assuming he's able to accumulate all of the CS. He should miss that one, but aside from that, this top lane is looking pretty even between the 2. Nothing has amounted to anything yet, despite the roam pressure that Jaffe had earlier. Kick coming out though, Jida, and does scoop that up. The Dominus does come out. Both ultis by the top laners have been traded, amounted to almost nothing. And meanwhile on the bot lane, speaking of action, we got a flag and drag going on to Dax. Dax taking below half. Flash ulti from Spears is going to scoop him up. Tef is caught in between 3. He has flash. He should be able to get out of this one. He's getting low. The root is going to secure it, and Spears is getting a double kill.
Spears' Nico is just so beautiful to watch. Just every ability goes exactly where it needs to be, and the setups are just beautiful on a champion that is historically kind of weak and hard to play. So I always love watching this player play Nico because of how good it is, but a fight in the top
Oh
lane is
my
going so
God,
low.
this is
Flash is expended
close.
from both, and a tower shot is going to take Jita down to single digits of HP. Will Jaffe be able to pick it up? The
Oh
Orphic's
my
going to throw
God.
the laser. It's going to miss, and Jita is going to walk out of there.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But alternatively, on the other side of the map, Idris is going to use that pressure to scoop them up. First dragon of the game. Ocean Dragon starting off strong for HBK. 4-0, 1 dragon, 30 CS in the mid lane. You couldn't ask for, but 30 CS in the bot lane as well. Good Lord, I didn't even notice that until now. This is going either way for that bot lane. That being said, good trade coming in from Spears, getting Orphic down to half already, just coming back from base, too. That feels bad for Orphic. Wasted the TP, too. Spears could be looking for more. The root does go wide, but Lux's does not. Q is going to only proc once on Orphic. This is close as close can get. Oh, my lord.
Yeah, but the real thing is that Orphic's going to be sent back to base due to the sustain that Nico's going to have with that refillable potion. And Lux has fallen so far behind in this lane. And so far, I'm not a big fan of the Lux pick. It doesn't even look like the pick so far is the problem as much as Orphic's not really playing to the champion's range comfortably in these fights consistently. Taking one step too far forward, getting him in trouble, and Dax is going to take a look at Jita in the top lane.
Does land the stun. Jita does not have access to the other dash. The ulti is thrown onto him. Dominus comes out. TP from Spears. The ulti is going to hit 2 here, guaranteed. Flag and Drag going to knock up. That's going to be knocking up Jaffe, and they're going to be getting 2 kills for themselves. 1 for the Renekton, 1 for the Nico, pushing up the lane. Gonna get some free plates under their belt. Ulti gonna go wide in the bot lane. Champion Red barely missing his mark there. I feel like the edge of that hitbox, if it was just a little bit lower, would have been enough to hit Aquarius Bottle. But so much action on this map. 6-0 for HBK. What more can we get?
Yeah, and so far this game has been very, very good for H-Block. So far, they've been able to stifle every single play that BBZ tried to make, get members where they need to be in time to stop the play. And in part of that, it's because they've drafted basically all champions that just don't go down easy. They make your opponent take enough time that you can get more members to the scene. And I actually really like that style from them, and especially Spears on that Nico in the mid lane is going to be a bit of the star of the show. Tef looking for an angle on the bot lane.
Getting a double knock-up. TP coming out from Jita. Actually, no, that is from Jita. Response TP from Jaffe. We're in for a bloodbath, but the Renekton's going to pick up Red. Dax running away, but Aquarius Bottle taken low. Gonna pop the heal, still has access to Flash. Tef does not, getting chased down. Knock up going on to Jaffe with the Caitlyn ult. They're all taken low. A Pro Lupul's gonna go down, traded in. The Lux ult does go wide ever so slightly. Idris now in the fray. Cataclysm gonna pick up Tef off to the side. Gonna scoop up Jaffe and Dax, trying to get out of this one. Turned into Caitlyn, has the range, but a triple kill for Idris is gonna be hot for HBK.
Yeah, we once again see a play started by BBZ that H-Block is able to swiftly turn around by bringing every single member of the team just about to the play. And as a result, it doesn't matter that there's 3 members of BBZ there to the play when there's 4 from the side of H-Block as a response. Really heads up macro play from them so far. Ooh, Idris almost taken out by that piercing arrow, trying to take out that first turret in the bot lane, grab that extra money, not quite going to happen. Red is there just in time to defend it. Those boots, those brown boots being just enough, get him in position to save that objective for a little later, but you still have to be worried about how this gold lead is already 4,000 in the side of H-Block. It's getting out of hand, and it's getting out of hand fast. Gore Drinker already completed for Jarvan, and the Everfrost for Nico are going to be the first 2 completed mythics of this game. Jita's Renekton very close behind. Could have had that Gore Drinker if didn't have to go for those plated steel caps first to deal with Jaffe's Lee Sin up in that top side. The CS is starting to equal out a little bit in the lanes that were struggling before, but that being said, the gold is so lopsided in the favor of H-Block right now, just from the amount of skirmishes going their way, that the CS and the lanes almost don't matter as much.
Definitely, most definitely so in this case. Spears in the bot lane right now. There's lane swapping ever so slightly. Aquarius Bottle now matching the Lux, hoping to catch back up in CS to BBZ Red. It is looking grim, to say the least, for BBZ. Second dragon of the game is coming up. Could spell a lot of danger on the map, and we're looking for kills. That route barely went wide. Both routes in that regard. Idris does have access to Cataclysm, but they might not need it. Champion Red trying to get as much damage as he can before he goes down. Spear's able to pick up that kill. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Pro Loophole is here and ready to pressure the mid lane, and I think this is HBK's dragon if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I think that because Red went down, we don't have the opportunity to really see a fight, but I definitely would have thought BBZ would make a concerted effort for that dragon. However, not doing so, I think, is the very smart play. It's pretty easy to see that HBlock are a lot stronger than your team right now, and while it is really tough because you don't have that many scaling elements, you sort of have the Lux and sort of the Viego as you know, mid to late game carries. I'm not sure it's going to match the Nico and the Caitlyn, but now is not the time where you can win these fights, so it's important to stay back, farm up, play safe. Wait for HBlock to make the move and try and punish it. If BBZ, they need to keep trying things, but they need to be very careful about what they take. No more 70% plays. You got to go 90% if you want to try and get back into this one. It's not quite desperation time, but it's close, so keep it clean.
Definitely so. Spear's going to pick him up his own blue buff. Everfrost is completed. And meanwhile, on the top side, I do believe on Renekton's next back, he will be able to pick up the Gourd Drinker. Caitlyn still not completed the Mythic yet, but Eclipse is finished for BBZ Red. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Jaffe gets stunned up. 2 people up there to pressure him. He's going to be able to run away just fine there with the Ward Hop.
Yeah, so far, we're not seeing that HBlock actually have to make a ton of plays because BBZ are the ones consistently overstepping. And now that BBZ understand the situation they're in, we're getting into a bit of a lull state of the game where the members of BBZ are starting to recognize that they're far behind and starting to play more safe. You know, there's that really common copy pasta about you're 1,000 gold behind, you have to start a play to even it out, and that no matter what you do, they always play like they're, 5,000 gold ahead, but this is not what BBZ is doing right now, thank goodness. They're going to settle down, realize the situation that they're in, and play to it. But right now, just farming it out, waiting for HBlock to make the move, and the move they might make on Red here in the mid lane grand entrance is going to instantly put Red in a position to be deleted.
Absolutely. And they are going to be able to take up the tower off of that too. Idris is pulling up ahead, is going to get hooked in for his troubles. Luxalt is going to hit before the flash. Cataclysm back in. Nico Walt is going to stun up Dax. Dax is in a lot of trouble. That's 2 for HBK so far. Trading over a Jarvan for their troubles. That's a huge shutdown going into the Lux's pocket, who already finished the Luden's Echo. The next item could come sooner than you think, and when Orphic hits 2 items, Lux becomes infinitely just much more scarier than you would ever imagine. And Pro Loophole feeling it already. That's just Luden's alone. The burst from the Lux could be very devastating for HBK if BBZ are able to get the picks they need. That being said, HBK 5k ahead so far, and 2 towers for the road.
Yeah, I think the main thing that BBZ are going to have to rely on is the power of these 3 meatballs in Lee Sin, Viego to some extent, and Nautilus to try and keep the snipers in the backline alive. Lux has the potential to output so much damage and is not horribly far behind. So as this game scales late, Lux is going to be where a lot of this damage comes from. Red is going to be where a lot of this catch comes from. It's important to get to that point where you can protect them. But how do you do that with the gold and the engage?
Oh, no.
But speaking of that engage.
Grand entrance coming out again. Dax is going to go down in 2 times in a row in 1 minute. Not looking good for him so far. And they're going to be able to start up the second Rift Herald of the game. Pick that up uncontested. That's the jungler gone and 6 feet under.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, HBlock are now just roaming around the map in groups trying to find members of BBZ that are just unprepared for their presence there and just catching them. It's hard to say lack of vision when you have so little map control, but that really is what it comes down to, is they don't have the vision of where the enemies are, and at some level you have to disrespect it because you need to try and get things on the map. But or not Jaffe,
Oh,
Dax being caught over and over again, but Spears taking a big trade onto Orphic here.
was a little too ahead of himself with that ultimate. Will actually secure his own death. The 1v1 in the bot lane goes to Spears, 2.3k ahead of their own mid laner. And that is actually really, really good for HBK picking that one up. They're going to be able to get vision on the bot side river. With Dragon coming up, Pro Loopholes actually get caught a little bit by BBZ. BBZ are there to the Dragon first. They are collapsing on top of BBZ here. Spears off to the side, gonna land the root on top of Tef. Tef taking the Everfrost as well. Ulti coming out to stop them. But the W is actually going to get canceled. EQ from Jarvan with the Cataclysm. No matter what Tef does, he's going to be going down there. Orphic with the ulti again, going wide. Idris taken very low from the Lux E, but they're going to start the Dragon anyway. Smite is available for Idris for health, but they should be able to pick this up with no Lux ult, no contest needed. And Red going for Pro Loophole there. Pro Loophole will be able to get alive, and that's third Dragon of the game going to HBK.
Yeah, it's so tough to deal with this team composition. Never mind the gold lead. It's so tough to lock down really any of the members on the side of H block. Especially when Rakan is going to be itemizing what looks like into a, yep, there it is, Zonia's Hourglass there for the Rakan. Shows you the state of stasis in League of Legends right now. It is so good on nearly every champion that can pick it up. And with Rakan having that stasis, the member of the team that's the farthest forward is now going to be even more slippery than Rakan normally is. And how do you lock that down? It's so tough.
It really is, to be honest with you. Dragon Soul coming up in another 4 minutes. This could be really bad for BBZ if HBK are able to pick one more Dragon up without a problem like they have been in this game. Rakan with the Zanyas, he's going to be making his engages that much more scary with the CC locked into you can no longer focus me. With Rakan having problems such as dying very easily in a fight, itemizing like this is never a bad thing, especially when 2 or 3 rather of the champions of BBZ are looking to pick you off.
Yeah, so now it's up to BBZ to try and find an angle. The gold lead has gotten to the point where I would say it is getting pretty desperate for the side of Blue Bayou Zoo and the state of the Dragons as well. If HBK managed to get this Infernal Soul, game is signed, sealed, and delivered. The burst that they're going to have is nothing that anyone on the side of BBZ can survive. So I think at that point it really is Funzo Dunzo for BBZ if they let HBK get that Dragon Soul. So the question is, how do we set up for the next 3 minutes to get into a state that gives us the best odds at this fight? Because that's ultimately what it's going to come down to here in 3 minutes and 2 seconds.
And with shutdowns on HBK, BBZ are definitely looking to use their pick composition in efforts to sort of secure those shutdowns. 1,000 gold shutdown for Nico and a 150 gold shutdown for the rest of them. Caitlyn's amounting to 200 after CSing, which is actually really surprising considering how the gold lead has sort of aspired not really too much in Caitlyn's favor. She's ahead in gold for sure, but it's definitely not to amount as the rest of HBK, in which they have accumulated for themselves. Pro Loophole with 10 assists so far isn't the highest KDA of the game, with Jarvan 5-1-9, 14 out of 16 kills. Idris has been doing a lot for his team in this game. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Jaffe's going to lose all of his HP, going to be forced to recall. Does have teleport if anything happens, if he can recall and get that HP back. This is looking pretty grim here in the jungle, though. HBK are going to be taking this over for themselves. Charn coming out on Dax. Dax
Can't do that.
going to be taken very low. He's going to get out alive, but at what cost? HBK are going to take over the bot side jungle of BBZs.
Yeah, it looks like Dax is just a little flustered at this point. I mean, has accumulated 6 deaths on this Viego, and is definitely not in the spot where he normally is in a game of League of Legends, and just not respecting the enemy vision line and the positioning of his teammates, not really in a spot to protect him. Luckily, not too much is lost, just that Viego ultimate going to go down. But, man, the way that BBZ have been positioning throughout this game is very worrying for the set ahead. They're going to need to just reassure themselves, calm down, get their heads in a nice and cool state, because this game is really tough, and I don't think they should put too much stock in how they play for the rest of this one and focus on what's going to happen in the next game. That being said, we should see a climactic finish here in about 1 minute. If BBZ can manage to win that fight, they're going to get a chance, but I would imagine that it's going to be the time where HBlock really seals it.
And they have the vision all in that bot side jungle and river. BBZ's jungle is lit up like a Christmas tree right now, and you can see just how confident they are walking into the jungle with no problems at all. Pro Lupul zoning off Orphic very well is actually going to be able to take 2 pink wards out of that bush. That zombie ward vision score is going to be insane for this Rakan in this game. With 23 seconds up on this dragon, this is it. If BBZ are able to pull ahead in any sort of fight, they need to do it now.
Yeah, Dax isn't even there yet, which really has me worried. Now there's complete vision control in that bottom side river for HBlock. In fact, the BBZ members are just going to go for this outer tower. I think they've decided to actually give up on the Infernal Soul. They know how doomed that fight is, and they want to pick their final battle at a different point. So that being said, they're going to try and grab some standing gold for themselves, which, you know, it's not a great trade, but considering the situation, it's probably the best you could do. The question is, can they get out safely? There's a lot of engage from the side of HBlock, and the Caitlyn ultimate's got to go down. It's going to chunk Orphic a lot, but really, they're just leading the members of HBlock to their well-deserved Baron. Spears finding a great flank angle, and the fight should get now.
And that's very good from Pro Lupul with the engage from Idris to follow. An ulti from Nico. The Wombo combo is in, and the stun onto Dax is actually going to seal him in, and that's 4 members of BBZ gone at the speed of light. Very good proactive engage from Pro Lupul. Flash Wing over the wall, getting into the ulti, and then Zonyazing right afterwards to make his presence known for BBZ. That is an amazing, amazing fight from HBK.
Yeah, so just watching the replay, BBZ are forced off of that tower. They stayed a little too long, and Spears has this great angle, and Pro Lupul with the bold flash over the wall, setting up a perfect engage from every member of the side of HBlock, and then the fight's just over. Too much CC has landed, too much initial damage has landed, the backline completely scattered for the side of Blue Bayou Zoo. That's going to be both big objectives on the map falling for the side of HBlock, and they should be able to use this to wrap this one up in the next couple of minutes here. That should be the game.
Definitely so at this point. This Baron will bring them up over 10k gold lead for HBK following this Baron. 11 almost on the dot, just a little bit off as a matter of fact. And wow, HBK are really asserting their dominance in this game. Idris, he heard me when I said that these 2 junglers are close in skill. He wanted to prove his worth, and my, is he doing so.
Absolutely. So, you know, at this state, the game isn't over, but it's pretty much over. So you kind of have to start thinking about what's going to go on next as the series progresses. That's the part that, to me, is a little more interesting. So, real quick, I think that you can't let Spears have Nico. You counterpicked into it with a quirky pick that you thought was going to beat it. It did not work in the slightest. Fell super far behind in lanes, fell super far behind throughout the game, didn't fit the composition, and Spears was consistently able to find nasty flank angles and great opportunities to utilize that Nico ultimate, which should be the part of her kit that struggles the most. So I don't think you can let Spears have this champion if you don't have a solid answer to it. And right now, we might see Spears actually being caught out here. But
oh my god,
low.
You don't gank Nico. Nico ganks you, getting more roots onto more members. Jaffu is taken so low. Zonya's going to be popped out by Spears. Idris coming out to get Dax away from them. Orphic with the ultimate onto only Jita. Aquarius Bottle is going to be able to take out the Viego. Orphic will be going down as well as Varus. And that will be the game probably here with Baron up, and they're pushing into base. BBZ got torn apart by HBK in that fight, and Spears stalling out as much as he can. was able to stall it out, and HBK are going to be taking game 1 of the night.
Yep, so we're going to have to see what kind of adaptations BBZ make for next game, or this series is going to be a quick stomp as HBlock with the finishing touches 27 minutes into this game, absolutely dominating fashion from the side of HBlock. There was never a point where it was in question. So now you have to look at what went right for HBlock, which wasn't just about everything, but how do you attack it from the side of BBZ?
my God.
Spears was monumental. Nico is his signature pick. You can't let him have it. Every time that Spears gets this champion, is able to take over the game with it, you can't kill the Nico. The Nico is constantly running around your entire team, unable to die. You need to take that away. That's the only bit of advice I have for BBZ, other than keep that mental strong. HBlock with a very dominating performance in game number 1.
And with that being wrapped up for game 1, we're taking it to a quick intermission, and we will see you for game number 2. Will Blue Bayou Zoo be able to pick it up the pieces and rebuild what they have, or will HBK keep the pressure on? Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
The biggest thing we really need to prepare for BBZ is just ourselves, as we see them banning all our good picks. So we're just cleaning up all our champion pools and then finalizing our playstyle to just have a big draft. BBZ, it seems like all the players play at a similar level. It feels like they're all just beatable, and we can really just we aren't really scared of any of their swaps or anything like that. We can just beat any of their players any role that they choose.
We'll be right back.